When we talk about the Middle Ages, the first thing that comes to mind is that people in the Middle Ages love to hurt others. They love pain, and in that era, if you were arrested for petty theft, you could face severe punishment. That's why people in the Middle Ages worked so hard to create all these torture machines. Today we will look at the most brutal execution method, flaying. But before I start, if you are new to the channel and love history, definitely subscribe to the History of Astro and press the bell icon. Thank you. Flaying is considered one of the most brutal forms of execution in history. It involves the removal of the skin from a living or recently deceased person. Historically, it was used as a form of torture, punishment, and execution, often as a warning to others. Flaying dates back thousands of years and has been practiced by many ancient civilizations. It was often seen as a form of severe punishment, not only for its extreme cruelty, but also for its symbolic meaning. The act of skinning someone alive was intended to demonstrate the ultimate power of the ruler or authority over the condemned. In some cultures, it was believed that removing a person's skin could also strip them of their identity, effectively dehumanizing them. In Mesopotamia, the ancient Assyrians are known to have employed flaying as a punishment. Assyrian kings like Tiglath-Pileser III and Sennacherib were notorious for flaying their enemies and using the skins as a display of terror. Flaying was also used in ancient Greece and Rome, though it was more symbolic in these cases. For instance, the Roman historian Tacitus recorded that the Germanic tribes practiced flaying their captives. One of the most infamous cases of flaying comes from the Maya, who believed in the idea of divine retribution. Human sacrifices often involved flaying were made to appease their gods. The Mayan king, who ruled during the classic period from 250 to 980, would sometimes flay his enemies in ritualistic ceremonies. However, this was the history of most brutal kind of punishment. Flaying when done to a living person was excruciatingly painful and could result in the death of the victim before the entire process was complete. The first step was the condemned person would restrain, usually tied to a post or table. This prevented any movement during the procedure. In some cases, the victim's limbs would be disjointed or bound to prevent escape or self-harm. A sharp tool, such as a knife or a blade, would be used to make an incision around the wrist, ankles, and neck. This allowed the executioner to peel away the skin in large sections, exposing the victim's flesh and muscle tissue underneath. The skin would be peeled off in a careful, systematic manner, often starting from the hands and feet and moving towards the torso. This process could take hours. The skin was peeled off in a manner similar to removing a tight garment. In some cases, the skin was removed in one continuous piece. As the skin was removed, the victim would experience immense pain due to nerve exposure. This pain could continue for several hours depending on the victim's health, the skill of the executioner, and whether the process was done in one sitting or stretched over a long period. The victim would either die from shock, blood loss, infection, or the physical toll of the pain. Death might take hours or days depending on the method of execution. After the skin removed, the skin was often displayed publicly as a symbol of terror and to serve as a warning to others. In some cases, the skin would be preserved, stretched out, and hung as a trophy. In the case of ancient Assyrians, the skin of executed criminals was sometimes nailed to the walls of cities to intimidate enemies. However, even though it was common, not everyone used it. There were some civilizations that of that used this execution. The Assyrians were an ancient group of people who lived in the region of Mesopotamia, which is in the modern-day Iraq, parts of Syria, and Turkey. They are known for building one of the most powerful empires in the ancient world and played a big role in shaping early civilization. The Assyrians worshipped many gods, with Osur being the most important. They believed their kings were chosen by the gods and that the gods protected their empire. The Assyrian Empire is infamous for its use of flaying, particularly under the reign of the king Tiglath-Pileser III. After the military conquest, Assyrian rulers would flay their prisoners alive as a form of terror. The bodies of these victims were often left without their skins as a public reminder of the fate awaiting anyone who defied Assyrian rule. The empire fell around 612 BCE when their enemies, the Babylonians and Medes, joined forces and destroyed Nineveh, their capital. After the Assyrian, the Maya civilization used this method for execution. The Maya civilization was an ancient culture that thrived in parts of modern-day Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The Maya civilization began around 200 BCE and lasted until the Spanish conquest in the 16th century. This peak, known as the Classic period, was between 250 and 900 CE. In Mayan culture, flaying was part of religious rituals. The skin of the victim would be removed after they were sacrificed, often to honor the gods. In some cases, the skin was worn by priests during rituals to symbolize the divine connection to the gods. And the last one. During the Middle Ages, flaying was sometimes used as a punishment for the worst offenders such as traitors and heretics. The practice was particularly common in areas under the control of brutal rulers who believed that such acts would maintain order through fear. But by the late Middle Ages, such extreme punishment began to decline as societies developed legal systems that focused on imprisonment or exile. Flaying was recognized as barbaric and inhuman, and it faded from use. Flaying was not just a method of execution, but a psychological tool. The extreme cruelty of the act was meant to instill fear in the population, especially when the skin was displayed publicly. It served as a stark reminder of the power of the ruling class, as well as the fate awaiting those who opposed them. In some cases, the skinning of criminals was also intended to prevent them from receiving a proper burial, ensuring that their spirits would remain restless and unable to find peace. Flaying has virtually disappeared as a legal punishment in modern times due to its extreme nature and the advancement of human rights laws. The brutality of the act, combined with its gruesome nature, led to its gradual abandonment in favor of more human forms of punishment. However, the historical records of flaying continue to serve as a chilling reminder of the lengths to which societies have gone in the past to assert power and control. So for today, don't forget to tell us how you felt. I really want to know. Let me know in the comments which ancient punishment you want to see next. Thanks a lot for watching the full video. See you in the next video. Stay well.